We are still in the Kamala Harris honeymoon phase, and believe me when I say that the more people see her on camera, the less they're going to like her. Donald Trump and Elon Musk reposted a kind of faked AI political ad about Kamala Harris that someone made. It is one of the funniest things that I've seen in a really long time, and luckily I have it for you right here. Take a look.
I, Kamala Harris, am your Democrat candidate for president because Joe Biden finally exposed his senility at the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time.
Another trick is trying to sound black. I pretend to celebrate Kwanzaa, and in my speeches, I always do my best Barack Obama impression.
So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
And okay, look, maybe my work addressing the root causes of the border crisis were catastrophic, but my knowledge of international politics is truly shocking.
The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. It is an alliance that is strong and enduring.
And just remember, when voting this November, it is important to see what can be, unburdened by what has been. And by what has been, I mean Joe Biden. You think the country went to shit over the past 4 years? You ain't seen nothing yet.
So it's really good, like really, really good. When I said at the beginning that it's one of the best AIs ever, it is. Like the rest, so the what you're seeing up there is not AI, but the voice is, and it is really, really good. The writing was fantastic. Of course, the mainstream media immediately came out and they were on point with their propaganda. They're basically supporting Kamala to the T. They couldn't do it for Joe Biden, right? They did it for a while. When the debate happened, there was no lying to the American people anymore, so they kind of had, like the gig was up. They were like, all right, well, he's old, and they had to go after him. But they're not doing that with Kamala Harris. It's the full media propagandist machine that's going on. And so they immediately jumped to her defense about this video, saying that this was misinformation. The thing is it's not misinformation. It's satire and it's comedy. Like, it's clearly faked. It's very, very funny, though. And, of course, people were very upset about Donald Trump and Elon Musk posting it. Again, as if they were posting it, that it was a real political ad. That's not what they were doing. They were literally just saying, this is really freaking funny and you should check it out. But this is an effective fake ad for a couple reasons. The first reason is that there's a lot of truth to it. Like, a lot of the things that she says are actually just objectively what she believes or what she's done. What it says about being a diversity hire and replacing Joe Biden because of the debate is literally just true. I mean, it's just a fact. Democrats were totally good with Joe until the debate happened, and then they couldn't lie about how senile he was. Presumably, in my opinion, the plan was to always make Joe Biden the nominee, but they knew he was probably going to die in office, or Kamala Harris was going to have to declare the 25th Amendment and take over, even if he was still alive. I think that was always the plan, but the gig was up after the debate, and now they were like, well, I guess we can't really declare the 25th Amendment anymore. We're just going to put Kamala Harris forth. It's very obvious that happened. The second one is that when Biden chose his VP, and he said that it was going to be Kamala Harris, he specifically said it was because she was a woman and because he wanted a black woman. And so this idea of a diversity hire, there's people online saying that this is offensive. It might be offensive. I mean, I would be offended for sure if someone was like, I need a white man. Yeah, sure, I'd be offended, but it's the truth. It might be offensive, but the offense does not come from people saying it's a diversity hire. The offense comes from Biden, who said that about Kamala Harris. Also, it has to be said that the quality of the audio, I think I already said this, but the quality of the audio, so good. It was so immaculate. The inflection of her voice is spot on. The laugh at the end is hilarious. The laugh is real. I think it would fool plenty of people because of how good it was done, but clearly it was satire. Also, I will say some of the funniest parts in the whole thing were not AI. There were a few parts you'll notice in this video that it was literally just a splice of what Kamala Harris said. And so she really is that funny. Like, it is that funny to watch her on camera, which is kind of the larger point that I'll make in a second. She's really funny the more she's on camera because of how ridiculous she is. And you don't need AI to make her look ridiculous. Also, credit where credit is due. This was made by a YouTuber named Mr. Reagan. So go check him out. Absolutely fantastic video. So I want you to go check out his channel, because if he makes more content like this, it's obviously going to be superb. The flow of the video was great. This is another point I want to make. This is the kind of mockery that the left deserves, and it's what's needed from the right. The cheap shots on X or social media, other social media sites that you see from conservatives are actually not as effective. Like, if you make fun of her cackle or how ridiculous she sounds, it's fine, but just in terms of persuasion, it's not the most effective thing that you could do. The reason why this content works is because not only does it have some of those cheap jabs, but it has the truth. As I was saying earlier, like, it's just true things. Her talking about the diversity hire, her talking about how she's effed up the country and watch how much worse I can make it. Like, that's just true. And I think that resonates with independents and even some liberals a lot more than just the name calling, which, again, the name calling can happen, but only if it's packaged in something as splendid and perfect as that video. I think Republicans just need to really focus on the damage that Kamala's policies have done more than kind of her irritable laugh, which is fine to talk about, but it's not. I mean, she's done really bad things that have actually hurt Americans. That needs to be focused on much more than anything else. Well, if you want to have as much fun, in life as the fun I had just watching that video, you need to check out my sponsor, I Want Whatever. If you're like me, you never know what to get a family member for their birthday, but with IWantWhatever.com, you get a fun and exciting mystery box every time. I've never tried out a mystery box, but I'm really excited to get at I Want Whatever just to see what it is. You literally never know what you're going to get. Go check out their website. Again, it's at IWantWhatever.com. You'll immediately see what I'm talking about, just kind of how whimsical and crazy it is. This is clearly a gift that your friend or family member is never going to forget. Also, if you're like me, I'm just going to get myself one because of how fun it looks. So it doesn't have to be a gift, but it could be a gift. Again, that's at IWantWhatever.com. Well, if that video wasn't enough to convince you that Kamala's chances of winning will only get worse, I have another very interesting video to show you. Scott Rasmussen, the former president of Rasmussen, reports and polling had a really fascinating thing about Kamala Harris and the polls. Watch this.
What's happening? We just came out with a poll this morning among registered voters. Trump is +1 over Harris. But I would tell you basically to ignore that poll. And the reason is, all that really tells us is that before the debate on June 27th, the race between Trump and Biden was close, and Harris is starting in that same position. Very few voters know anything about Vice President Harris. Over the next 2 or 3 weeks, as people get to know her, her numbers may move up or down, but right now, this is like a blank slate. Very hard for us to keep that in mind. Second reason that 8% talking politics daily matters is people don't know the language we use. My advice is, whatever way that you talk to people in this room about politics, never talk to a real person that way.
So this is what I've been saying since Kamala got into the race. People like you and me who think and talk about politics all the time, we know who Kamala Harris is. We know what she's done. We have an opinion set on her, right? We like her. We don't like her. Probably we don't like her. I mean, it's hard to like her if you know what she's done, but I know there's some liberals out there that like her. The thing is that Democrats are not realizing that most Americans do not talk about politics the way I do or the way you might talk about them or watch videos on them like I do as well. It's just not like normal people just aren't that political, and they shouldn't be, by the way. Most people should not really think about politics. They should think about raising their family, going to work, being good members of their community, which one could argue, I guess, is part of politics. So let me amend my statement. People should not be talking about national politics. They just don't do it. They need someone exciting to get them out to vote. Kamala Harris is not exciting. Again, sure, you know who Donald Trump is. You know, like if you poll America right now and you ask them, hey, who is Donald Trump? Or you don't even have to say his name. You could say, who was the last president of the United States before Joe Biden? 99% are going to be able to say Donald Trump, because he's such a character, right? And anyone who's been president of the United States in the last 10 years is a character. But Donald Trump specifically, man, he is iconic. If you ask that same group of people, let's say you poll all of America, who is the current vice president right now? I predict, and I think this is what Rasmussen is getting at, I predict that literally 40% of them couldn't tell you who the vice president is. I think it's that high. And again, for people like me and for you who think about politics, it sounds crazy that, such a large number wouldn't know who the vice president is. But I truly think that is the fact. And so when you go into these polls and you see Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris and you see the D and the R, you have an opinion on Donald Trump. You don't have an opinion on Kamala Harris. And so that can mean one of two things. The first thing it could mean is that you vote for her because you just don't have a negative thing, you don't have a negative connotation with her, or you don't know her so you don't show up to vote. And that is the problem that Democrats have right now. My prediction is that turnout for Democrats will be famously low. In contrast, I think turnout for Republicans will turn out to be quite high. And the reason why is because Donald Trump is an exciting force in the Republican Party. He clearly is changing the party. He has a direction he's going with it. He has some also sub-leaders in the Republican Party that are very good at energizing the base. I'm talking about Vivek Ramaswamy, Tim Scott, Doug Burgum, like people who are they're flag bearers for Donald Trump. They're getting the base excited. There's a direction. If you look at the Democrats, what you just saw happen is that they just lied to you for months and months, promising you that Joe Biden would be the nominee, that he wasn't crazy, that he wasn't too old, and then switching him out last minute and acting like that everything's okay, and that Kamala Harris was always the plan. And again, there's going to be a kind of far left group who looks at Kamala Harris and they're totally good with it because she's a very far left person. But there's a lot of people who are going to look at it and they're going to be confused by the disunity in the Democrat Party. They're not going to vote for Trump. They know who Donald Trump is, but they don't know who Kamala Harris is. If they don't know who Kamala Harris is and they see that she was just kind of put in last minute by Joe Biden, chances are they just probably won't show up to vote. And at this point, a no vote is a vote for Trump. However, the other thing, and as Rasmussen said, the numbers for Kamala will only go down from here in the polling, which again, the polling is not everything. I'm not suggesting that the polling is the voting, but in the polling, the numbers will go down because as more and more people find out who Kamala Harris is, more people are going to realize how radical she is. Just in terms of policy, very radical. In terms of character, not very likable. Again, not exciting. She doesn't excite anybody. And so the polling will actually, I think, sour for Kamala. But what matters much more than the polling, I believe, is the voting, obviously, and the turnout is going to be famously bad for Democrats in November because people are just simply not going to know who she is. And the reason why that is because we have 99 days left until the election starting today. That is not a lot of time. Not a lot of people are talking about politics every day like you and I are. And so 99 days is not enough time for Democrats to show a good symbol of who Kamala Harris is. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please go down below, comment, like, and subscribe, and watch another video.